Okay, this is 3.6 slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. Taking a look at the practice problems today. So basically what we're doing with 1 through 3 here is we need to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. Whoa, what is this? Let's try that again. Which is y is equal to mx plus b. And the line that we need to write goes through this point, -2, 2, and is parallel to y is equal to -1x minus 2. So basically what we're doing is all we're doing with this line is we are recognizing that if we need to write a slope of a line that is parallel to this one, we need to use the same slope. So the slope of this line, the m value, right, the slope here is -1. So that is the same slope we need to use. So we are going to use the slope of -1. And then what we can do is we have an ordered pair, right? We have an x and a y value. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a 2 in for y, we're going to put this -2 in for x, and we're going to put the -1 in for m. And once we do that, we can isolate b. So all I'm doing here is substituting out the numbers for the variables, and now I can just solve. -2 times -1 is +2. And now I'm left with 2 is equal to 2 plus b. So if I want to isolate b, I just want to subtract 2 on both sides. And I'm left with b is equal to 0. So the last step here, guys, don't forget this step, is to actually plug these values into our equation, because that's what we're writing. We're writing the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. So the line that we need to write is y is equal to -1x, or just -x plus 0. So that's kind of a elementary way to write this. Really, we could just do y is equal to -x, because the -1 isn't really necessary, and that 0 isn't necessary either. So there we go. All right, so the same thing here. So parallel to the slope 1. So if it's parallel, we need to use the same slope. So the m value that we're going to use is 1. And we're going to take our x and our y and plug them into the equation. So here's the equation. All we're going to do is substitute out and solve. So we have -3 is equal to 1 times -2 plus b. Go ahead and solve this out. 1 times -2 is -2. I want to isolate b, so I need to get rid of this -2. I'm going to do so by adding 2. Do it to one side, got to do it to the other side, and I'm left with b is equal to -1. All right, final answer here, guys, is just to put these values into our equation. Okay, here we go. So y is equal to 1x. So I'm just going to write x minus 1, and that's it. Okay, moving on. Those three were all dealing with parallel slopes. Now the trickier one is, we're dealing with perpendicular. So perpendicular slopes, and maybe we need to remind ourselves that perpendicular slopes have, their slopes are negative reciprocals. So if the slope of this line is +3/4, the slope that we need to use is going to be -4/3. Okay, from there it's the same thing. We're just going to use our equation and just substitute out our variables. Y is 1, m is -4/3, and x is -3 plus b. So you can use your calculator on this, but just remember this is kind of like -3/1. So if you can think about these as canceling out, it's really going to be -4 times -1, which is just going to be +4. But again, you can definitely use your calculator on that if you want it. And then we isolate b, so we need to get rid of this 4, so we subtract on both sides, and we're left with b is equal to -3. Last step, just put it into the equation of a line. So y is equal to -4/3 x minus 3. All right, this one's a little bit tricky here. So number 5, it's perpendicular to this line, which has a slope of -1, which is really -1/1. So the slope that we need to use is just going to be the opposite reciprocal. So if we flip that around and make it the opposite, it's just going to be +1/1. Okay, or in other words, just 1, +1. Okay, so now again, you guys can probably go from here. It's going to be xy, plug it in the equation, and go from there. All right, 7, 8, and 9. Basically, what we need to do is put these into slope-intercept form and just see if the slopes are the same, or if they're negative reciprocals, or if they're neither. Okay, so let's do the first one here because it's going to be really easy. All we need, or sorry, the second one, because all we need to do is divide by 4. And if we do so, we're left with y is equal to -7/4 x minus 1/2. And then we can also do this top one. So I'm just going to rewrite it at first. 2x minus 7y is equal to -42. So if I want to isolate y or solve for y, I need to get rid of this 2x. So I'm going to do so by subtracting 2x. I subtract 2x on one side, I've got to do it to the other side. And now I'm left with -7y is equal to -2x minus 42. Last step, divide everything by -7. And so I'm left with y is equal to +2/7, right? Because they're both negative. X and -42 divided by -7 is +6. And so we've got the slope of -7/4 and the slope of 2/7. So this is just neither. All right. Number 8, we've got y is equal to 3. 1, 2, 3. So that line's going to look like this. Y is equal to 3. And x is equal to -2. That's going to look like this. And so we should know that a vertical and a horizontal line are going to create perpendicular lines. Okay. All right, I might as well do this one as well. The second one, we might as well do that one first because that's a little bit easier. All we need to do here is divide by 10, divide by 10, divide by 10. And I'm left with y is equal to -4/10. We'll keep this as a fraction, but let's reduce it to -2/5 x, and -20 divided by 10 is -2. And now I'm going to just bring down the second equation. We got 2x plus 5y is equal to -1. So what I need to do is the same thing we did for number 7, subtract 2x, subtract 2x. And I'm left with 5y is equal to -2x minus 1. And last step, divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. And now I'm left with y is equal to -2/5 x minus 1/5. And we notice our m values are the same. They're the same, then the lines are parallel. Okay. Number 10, I think I'm going to leave number 10 for you guys. I attached a grid on there to make it a little bit easier for you, but I want to see what you guys come up with. And then I didn't think there was enough practice problems with these, so I did list another sheet for more practice. on these, because this is basically what your quiz is going to look like. You're going to have several questions where you need to write the equation of the line, and then several questions where you will need to determine whether or not the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So again, just more practice on these. Just put these into slope-intercept form and see what their slopes are. And again, the key here is just to identify, are they parallel lines, which means they have the same slope as the lines given to us, or are they perpendicular, which means they have negative reciprocals. Okay, so if you need more help, please come see me on Google Meet. All right, good luck.